Do you guys remember the last time I did a book haul? Because I think it was around Christmas. So it's time to do another book haul. I don't think I'm gonna haul every single book that I've gotten between like Christmas time and now, because it's been over 6 months and I've gotten a bunch more books. But I'm gonna kind of go over some books maybe I haven't talked about or I have talked about that I really liked. So let's get started with the ones that you've probably already seen on my channel. The first book is This Savage Song by V.E. Schwab. I've read this for Booktubeathon. I've already talked to you about what I thought of it. The interesting thing about this book is where I bought it. So when I was in LA for Anime Expo, I actually got to go to the last bookstore. My friend that I was kind of staying with or hanging out with the whole time knows that I really like books, and so she was like, we should go to the last bookstore, and I was like, that is an excellent idea. The last bookstore is amazing and there were so many books there and I felt like I just had to buy one, so I thought I would get This Savage Song. I hadn't seen this in hardcover in the bookstore that I work at, so I decided to just get the hardcover version of it because I definitely want to get the second one, and that one's out in hardcover right now and I don't want them to not be matching. Next are two graphic novels. The first one is Zodiacs Star Force, and this is by Kevin Panetta and Pauline Ganachio. I destroyed that last name. But this is a super amazing kind of like magical girl graphic novel, and I talked about it in a wrap-up video a few months ago, but this graphic novel is just like beautiful. So it's basically these girls who are a magical girl monster fighting team, but this picks up after like their origin story, so it's kind of like they've stopped being superheroes for a while and it's kind of them reforming the team and the reasons why they need to do that and their feelings about the team, that sort of thing. And just like it's super diverse, and just like look at how different and amazing all of these characters are, and it's got lots of really good representation. There's a lot of LGBTQ representation in this, and so it's just like beautiful and amazing and just everything that I want in the world. And the other one I've talked about a few times, and that is Voltron Legendary Defender Volume 1. I'm obsessed with Voltron. Like, watch it on Netflix. It's like fun, dorky, space reboot show, but I love it. Next I read We Are Okay by Nina LaCour, and this is probably contender for top 5 of the year. I adore this book so much. It's so good. It made me cry so much, and it's super short. Read this for Booktubeathon, loved it, can't get enough of it, and just this cover is just the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. It's so good. Next I read The Night Circus by Erin Morgenson, and this is amazing. I read this one also, and just it was beautiful and so vivid, and just it was great. I love this book so much. So this one is about a circus, and it is sort of a battleground for these two magicians. They're having some sort of like competition, and this book is just like really, really magical, but it feels kind of like real magic. It's not like Harry Potter magic where they're like shooting spells everywhere and things like that. It's more of a subtle type of visual magic, if that makes sense. I think if you read this, you will understand. There's also a bit of a romance plot in here too, which I am always here for. Next are books I haven't read or I've like just started reading, and I don't think I've talked about them that much on my channel. So first up is The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. I started this for Booktubeathon and couldn't get through it. I'm about 50 pages in, I think, and I'm just kind of like not feeling it right now. Like, I know it's good and I know it's gonna be something I need to read soon, but I am just not feeling this. I don't think it's the time for me to read this book right now. Then I got A Gathering of Shadows by V.E. Schwab. This is the second book in the Darker Shade of Magic series. I started this one last night. Actually, I'm about 30 pages in, and it's really great. I'm excited to see where all of these characters go and the new characters that have already popped up that I know are kind of important in the series. Next is Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro. I was going to read this for Booktubeathon, but didn't get to it. So this book, I think, is some sort of like sci-fi or thriller type of thing. I think there's some sort of like otherworldly, like magical sci-fi element to this book, but I've heard a lot of really, really great things about it, and I'm excited to read it. Next I have The Girl with All the Gifts by M.R. Carey, and this is a book that my friend keeps on telling me I need to read. She's like, Christy, have you read this book yet? And I'm like, no, I haven't, but I do own it, so hopefully I'll be able to get to this soon. So this is kind of a different take on zombies. I'm excited to see where that goes. I don't really read like zombie type books, so it's gonna be a really interesting new kind of experience for me. It was also turned into a movie. I didn't hear much about the movie, haven't seen the movie yet, but I think I want to read the book before I see the movie. Next I got Love and Gelato by Jenna Evans Welch, and this one I got off of Book Outlet. I think it was just because it has a really cute cover. I've heard a few things about it and like nothing like super amazing or like super bad, just kind of like a cute like YA contemporary romance. It seemed very, very summery to me, and I was planning on reading it in the summer. Didn't get to it this summer, but maybe I'll read it in the last few days of summer. Next I got Nevernight by J. Kristoff, and this book I think is about a girl who goes to an assassin's school to avenge the death of her father, and it seems really cool. Katrina from Little Book Owl, I think this is her favorite book and she talks about it all the time. So like at one point I just saw it on sale at Book Outlet and I was like, fine, I will read this book, because she just keeps on talking about it all the time, so it's always like in my head. And then next I got The Beauty of Darkness by Mary E. Pearson, and this book is the third book in the Remnant Chronicles. I'm very excited to read this book, but when I got it I didn't realize how huge it is. This book is giant. This is like Harry Potter size book. It's so big. I was so shocked at how big this book is. Nevertheless, I am still excited to read it, see where this goes, because this is like a surprisingly like really interesting story. This series was actually like surprisingly interesting. From the description I didn't think it would be like as interesting as it is. I thought it was just gonna be kind of like a fun like love triangle type thing, where it is, but there's also another layer to it, and it's kind of about history and like who writes history, and maybe the history is written by the victors in certain ways. So I'm really, really excited to see where this story ends up going. Next I have some young readers, and it is The School for Good and Evil, and this is by Soman Chainani. I destroyed that name. Gotta get better at that. But this is a young reader's fantasy book. It sounds really cool. It's about like there's this school where you go there and you're either good or you're evil, and there are these two girls that go and they get put where they don't think that they belong. I've heard a lot of really, really great things about this, that it's a good book for like a good fantasy for young people, and I kind of want to see what kind of fantasy is out there for the youngins, I guess you would call them, because pretty much all my knowledge of young readers are super old books from like the 80s or like Harry Potter. It's nice to pick up something new and kind of see what new like young readers fantasy is like. And then on the opposite end of the fantasy genre, I guess, is The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. So this is a book that just like everybody is like, Chrissy, you need to read this because it is super great fantasy, like one of the fantasy series to read. I bought it at the bookstore that I work at, and everyone was so excited that I was picking this up. It was like I bought this and the Night Circus at the same time. They were like, read both of those first right now. So this comes highly recommended by lots of people, so I'm excited to start this whenever that may be. Then finally, the last two books I got are actually manga, and they're actually not in English. So I picked up volumes 1 and 2 of Carcaptor Sakura, The Clear Card Arc by Clamp. So this is the new sequel series to Clamp's iconic Carcaptor Sakura, which is my favorite anime and manga series ever. I got the first volume at Anime Expo and then ended up going to Japanese bookstore while I was in LA to get the second volume. I got these both in Japanese, and I studied Japanese in college. I went to Japan. I lived there for like 6 months for study abroad, and it was amazing, and I love Japanese so much. But it's been a while since I've like been in school, and that I've been kind of like entrenched in studying Japanese. So I picked these up to kind of like bring myself back into Japanese a little bit. And so the great thing about this is that there will be English versions available. I actually have the first volume of this in English as an ebook, so it'll be great to be able to compare the English translation with the original Japanese if I get stuck or anything like that. It's a little more familiar that way. The Clear Card Arc is just like beautiful. It's all like it's just great. I love Carcaptor Sakura, and I love Clamp, and I love the size of Japanese manga. Like, they're very small and they're very bendy, and they're great. Hey, there everyone, Christy from the future here. I realized as I was editing my book haul, I forgot the books I'm most excited about that I got. And that is, let's see if I can do it this way, my room is a mess back here. But that is this series here, and this is The Dark is Rising by Susan Cooper. And so this is a series that I loved as a kid. It was kind of like my surviving through Harry Potter series, and I read most of it. I think I read all of I think I only read 2 or 3 of these books. So it consists of Oversea Under Stone, The Dark is Rising, Green Witch, The Grey King, and Silver on the Tree. This is a super great fantasy series. They made a movie out of The Dark is Rising. It's called like The Seeker or something, like years ago, and it's terrible. Please do not watch it, or if you've seen it, don't let it color your opinion about this series, because it's a really, really awesome series. I finally was able to get my hands on some hardcovers of this series, and I'm so happy about it. So I cannot wait to dive into this series. And that is it for my book haul. It was actually a lot bigger and a lot longer than I thought it was gonna be. It's been a while since I've done a book haul. Hopefully if I as I collect more books, I will do them more frequently, so I'll have such a huge freaking book haul. Let me know if you've read any of these books, or if there's any that you want to read, or something new that you've read. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already for more kind of fun bookish content like this. Alright, that's all I've got for you guys today. I'm Christy Lou. Till next time, mata ne!